This short story is called The Whaler's Return, and it's from George Mackay Brown's book of collection of short stories, A Time to Keep. And it's about, funnily enough, the return of a whaling ship to Orkney, where this community is based. Flaws was at the Arctic whaling all summer and got back to Hamneville in the last week of August with £7 in gold and a few shillings tied in a belt round his middle under his shirt. He said to Sabiston the harpooner, "With this money I'm going to rent the croft of Breck and marry Patrina. I'll stay at home from now on. I'll work the 3 fields and maybe go to the lobsters when it's weather. I'll never see a whale or an iceberg again." Sabiston said, "We'll go into the Arctic whaler first and wash the salt out of our throats." In the Arctic whaler they sat on barrels and drank ale. Then some other whaling men came in. They were all glad to be home. A few of them began to spend freely, buying rounds of rum for everyone in the bar. When it came to Flaw's turn, he bought rum for everyone too. Then, alarmed at his extravagance, he had fractured one of his sovereigns to buy the round of rum, and the loose copper and silver lay in his hand like so much cold mud and snow. He rose to his feet and said to Sabiston, "Now I'm going to walk home to Bercy." Before he went, Phimister of the Skua sang the Harry Crab. The Northwest men roared out the chorus. Phimister sang the song well. Everyone crowded about him with drink. Flaws also. Flaws hoisted his box on his shoulder. He left the Arctic whaler at 10 in the morning and set out for Bercy. At the north end of Hamneville, he saw that there was a new alehouse called the White Horse. It must have opened for the first time during the summer. He put his head through the door and saw a few farmers sitting round the fire drinking. The barmaid was standing at a mirror twisting her yellow hair at the back of her head. At last she got a fine burnished knot on it and drove a pin through it in place. Flaws hadn't seen a woman for 6 months. He went in and asked for a mug of ale. "We only sell whisky here," said the girl. "3d a glass." "A glass of whisky then," said Flaws. He thought it might be the last chance he would ever have to speak to a pretty girl. Petrina was good and hard-working, but rather ugly. Flaws stood at the bar and drank his whisky. The 4 farmers sat round the fire saying little. It was Wednesday in Hamneville, the day they drove in their beasts to sell at the mart. "Do you do much trade in the White Horse?" said Flaws to the barmaid. "We only welcome the better sort of person here," said the girl. "The quiet countrymen, not the ruffians and tramps from the herring boats and the whalers. And of course the office workers too, and business people. We're always very busy in the evening after the shops and offices close. No fighting scum from the boats ever cross the threshold of the White Horse." Out of her pretty mouth she spat on the stone floor. Flaws was glad he was wearing his decent suit of broadcloth, the one his old mother always packed in mothballs at the bottom of his chest for departures and homecomings. He ordered 2 glasses of whisky, 1 for the barmaid. She smiled at him sweetly. They touched rims till the glasses made a small music and the whisky trembled into yellow circles. Flaws was transported. He longed to touch her burnished head. Given time, solitude, and another dram or 2, he could well imagine himself kissing her across the bar. "I haven't seen you in the White Horse before," said the barmaid. "What is your occupation, sir?" God forgive me for telling a lie, said Flaws to himself. Then he squared his shoulders and said, I only visit the islands now and then. I'm a commercial traveller. I travel for earthenware in China. The barmaid glittered at him with eyes, teeth, hair, rings. The door opened, and Small the lawyer's clerk tiptoed in, his drunken nose, Flaws thought, redder than ever. He went up to the bar slowly, eyeing Flaws the way a hunter eyes his quarry. If it isn't Flaws, he cried at last, if it isn't my old friend, and did you catch many whales at Greenland, eh? I can smell the blubber and the oil with you. I warrant you have a fine pile of sovereigns in your pocket. You're the first seaman ever to get into the White Horse. Flaws could have killed the drunken clerk at that moment. The barmaid was suddenly looking at him with eyes as cold as stones. Flaws lifted his box on his shoulder and made for the door without a word. His pocket was heavy with more silver and copper. He had broken another sovereign in the White Horse. He stood, hot with shame and resentment, on the road outside. A commercial traveller, said Small the lawyer's clerk at the bar. Suddenly the interior of the White Horse was loud with merriment, the deep bass laughter of the farmers mingling with the falsetto mirth of the lawyer's clerk and the merry tinkle of the barmaid. Flaws walked on towards Bercy, red in the face.